HM Productions presents White Devil Podcast.
Hi everyone, I'm TheHande and welcome to White Devil Podcast, podcast number 38, and joining with me is Retro Kaiser. Hello? Did you drop off?
Hello everybody. Oh, fuck it, I'm just Japton. I'm Captain James T. Kaiser.
Yes,
My
Kaiser's
words
here
all
again.
jumbled up.
Yes, Kaiser's here again. Back after well over a year, because the last time we did a White Devil Podcast where Kaiser was on was back in 2018.
Did we even do an episode? Was there even an episode last year? Oh yeah, you
There
did
was
the solo ones,
there
didn't
was
you?
one episode, but we didn't. But yeah, it's no longer available, and good riddance, I say. Okay, but yeah, you weren't on that. I did that solo, but we did do the podcasts last year. So
Oh yeah.
yeah,
I
So
forgot about those. Well, not.
yeah. So we that's something that we maybe have to bring back at some point again. Do the podcast where we read Edgar Allan Poe stories, and maybe do the where we were even teasing at some point doing a Lovecraft cast or something to that nature. It's much more difficult to find a good pun for Lovecraft. Yeah. Anyway, so what are we going to be talking about? What are we going to be talking about on this White Devil podcast? Well, we're going to be doing this. This is going to be a slightly more straightforward cast. We don't have much of an introduction, and we don't have any questions from the listeners because I'm pretty sure people have forgotten that this podcast even exists. So, let's say our podcast today is broadly animation and video game related. I think that's fair to say. So, yes, and I don't have much of a great introduction here. Usually we talk about like stuff we're working on, but Kaiser wanted to be mysterious and not tell what he's working on right now. So I guess he won't tell us, but I'll just say that I'm actually working on a new Adventure Games puzzles video, and at some point I'm gonna get back on the horse again and do some more He-Man videos. I got one, actually, I talked about this, actually, just before the year ended, I did that little He cast. I don't know, did you listen to that?
Maybe.
It came out just before Christmas, yeah. I quickly, addressed the fourth season of She-Ra Princesses of Power, and I also talked a little bit about the videos that I did, because I did the 60-second He-Man reviews last year.
Yeah, those. I remember those.
Yeah, so I mentioned that I had...
I say it like they're terrible, but they're not. It's like, those. Yeah, those.
Yeah, well,
No.
I mentioned in that He-cast that I thought that I had recorded, but not edited, one 60-second He-Man episode review, and it turns out I just, yesterday or the day before, I kind of checked, and I realized, oh yeah, there it is, I had recorded the voiceover for it, but I hadn't just edited down. Well, actually, I had edited in a way... Well, okay, there's a little behind-the-scenes magic for you. So, when I did the 60 seconds He-Man reviews, so if you watched any of those videos, if you remember, I have the positives and the negatives. So, that part of the review is 60 seconds. So, I'm kind of cheating with that definition of 60-second review. But yeah, that's the kind of the 60-second parts. And then there is a short plot synopsis and a short... a conclusion at the end. But that's the whole where the 60-second parts come in. So if you're wondering, the 60-second He-Man reviews, that none of the videos are even 60 seconds or a minute. So that's the joke a little bit. First 3 episodes of the New Adventures of He-Man. This one will be for the 4th, so I gotta watch the 5th one next. And maybe get those out kind of at the same time, because it's kind of fun pushing out those short little videos very close to each other. Yeah. I'm hearing some noises from over
I
there.
know. Be right back. There was such a bloodbath out there. Never mix kids with podcasting, because when they start playing out on the hallway, I need to crumble them up, need to get my chainsaw, chop them up, throw them in the lounge room. But they fought back, surprisingly. They had cannons, they had machine guns, so it turned into a whole family war out there. Then I asked them politely to leave the hallway, then I grabbed a marshmallow and I'm back.
And goodbye, YouTube monetization. No, that's a joke. I've never monetized my channel. Oh yeah, and also, just before we get to the topics at hand, I just wanted to quickly say as well that the day before I recorded this, well, actually 2 days ago, I moved again. So I've moved again, and yesterday I actually went to see the new Star Wars movie, The Rise of Skywalker, and I won't say anything more about it. Shameless plug here. If you want to hear what I thought about it, there's a review on my blog. That's TheHande.wordpress.com. Okay. Yeah. So, unless, Kaiser, you want to plug something, like maybe your Twitch streams or something like that, are you ready to move on?
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
If you want to see some great live action right from your home theater, tune in to www.twitch.tv/EmeraldRangers on the weekends, where I'll be playing such hits such as Shantae and Grim Fandango. Tune in live for some stuff.
Yes,
yeah, that's
so that's
twitch.tv/EmeraldRangers.
So yeah, that's Twitch TV Twitch.tv/Emerald Rangers. I'm just saying that because you cut off just as you were saying the address. So Emerald Rangers. Yeah, I heard the rest of it, but conveniently it cut out the freaking address. So Emerald Rangers, just together. Same as the website you also write reviews for.
Sure, the call leaves in me jokingly like getting into a firefight with my siblings, but it cuts out me advertising the good stuff.
Yeah. All right, but anyway, so what are our topics today? Well, we hopefully let's say we got three topics that we're kind of prepared for. At least I hope we're prepared for. Who knows? Maybe this will go terribly, but but anyway, sorry guys. It's been over a year since we did a White Devil podcast. Together. We're a bit rusty.
Yep, we're the Rusty Devil podcast today.
I'd also plug my Twitch streams, but they're honestly so horrible that nobody should watch them. So moving on. So we have a bunch of different topics that were actually these were actually all suggested by my sister Minna, and we decided we wanted to talk about this. So let's talk about this. So our first topic today is best childhood cartoons nobody remembers. So cartoons that we have watched as kids, but maybe which today most people have completely forgotten about. And Kaiser, would you like to start first? Because I did most of the talking during the introduction.
Oh, yes. My memory of these shows are absolutely butchered because I haven't seen these since I was a child, but I am looking forward to watching them again if I can find a legit copy. But the first show I'm on about is
called... Have you checked YouTube? There's always those throwaway channels people just
Oh, yeah. You can watch
stuff.
A lot of great shows these days, and copyright doesn't give a shit about them, so there's classic shows like Dr. Katz, which you should be watching. Or not, one of the two, depends on your choice of comedy. But no, the first cartoon...
Is Dr. Katz done with that same weird art style as Home Movies? Or what was that other show?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, I remember that one somewhat. I don't... Very vaguely. All right, that's a good start, then. Yep, sorry, go ahead.
That's a good... Unintentional good start. Like, what kid's watching Dr. Katz, by the way? Ugh. But
Dr. Katz, by the way, not actually about cats, just to clarify.
But anyway, the first show I want to mention is a little old show called Mummy's Alive.
Mummy's Alive. I don't think I've ever seen that, but was there an action figure line of that?
Yep.
Yes. Well, I don't have that, but I have the fucking Skeleton Warriors, like one of those action figures. It's basically the same thing, isn't it?
Yeah, it was during the time when Gargoyles was a big thing, and you see like all these other cartoons come out at the same time, like Mummy's Alive, Street Sharks. Even though Street Sharks was more Ninja Turtle clones, but
I was actually saying, like, isn't Mummy's... You drew comparison to Gargoyles, but isn't Mummy's Alive and that Skeleton Warriors one, weren't they kind of like TMNT knockoffs as well?
Probably. Who knows? Even Gargoyles might have been a TMNT knockoff.
Yeah, okay, but go ahead. Sorry, I interrupted.
I'm not saying TMNT knockoff in a negative way. No, sorry, Bob. But Mummy's Alive. It's just basically superheroes in the form of mummies.
Yeah.
As I said before, it's been so long since I've watched it, even I've forgotten about it, but Like, I do remember bits of it, mainly that they're superhero mummies saving the day.
Who are the bad guys in that? I'm curious. Who is the arch nemesis of a mummy?
I think from what I remember like more season 2 bad guys, and they were like you know, the hounds, like the Anubis head hounds.
Anubis. So it was like Egyptian gods as bad guys.
Probably,
Okay.
or Egyptian monsters trying to become Egyptian gods.
Yeah. Well,
It
the
also
thing,
doesn't help
the
that
thing
this
with
was-
Egyptian folklore, like everybody's a god basically, so you don't have to like sugarcoat it like that. Okay.
Yep.
Yep.
But unfortunately, I'm the only one that had to be a power slave.
Ah, Power Slave. No wonder you like the show. That's your favorite. Yeah, that's your favorite Iron Maiden album. Yeah. I
Yeah,
always
that-
forget,
that
but
might
then
be-
every once in a while, oh yeah, Kaiser likes Power Slave. Yeah.
But no, it's an Egyptian. I remember it being awesome, but I really do need to rewatch it. But that's definitely a show a lot of people don't mention anymore. Probably because they're in the same boat as me and absolutely forgotten it.
Is it that?
It was like a weird.
That's late '90s, isn't it? Late '90s.
Late 90s, yeah. 'Cause
Yeah,
I remember
yeah.
watching it like air in like late 90s, early 2000s. Like it was like a weird like 6 a.m. show, 6 a.m. maybe even 7 a.m. ish. It was like really early in the morning. That one.
That is a weird. In Finland, we had something kind of weirdly similar, but it was the opposite. There were some cartoons that aired like in the middle of the night for whatever goddamn reason. I don't know why. So yeah, but yeah. Do you have another show you want to talk about?
Yes. Speaking about weird early morning cartoons, I got an even weirder earlier morning cartoon that aired like before Mummy's Alive at like 5:30 in the morning. This is the Mighty Ducks cartoon.
Ah, the Mighty Ducks cartoon. I remember
Yep.
last year you mentioned that, and I think
Yeah.
I watched a clip of it, and I was just
were
struck
surprised
by
that-
I was just struck by like how like the voice cast for this thing was like amazing. Like go ahead, keep talking. I'm just gonna look up the voice
cast
actors.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep. Because Jim Belushi was the coach or something in that show. It's funny. I remember the Mighty Ducks cartoon a bit better than Mummy's Alive because I got up super early just to watch it. Like, I like the Mighty Duck movies. Maybe the cartoons would be good. As a kid, they were awesome. As a grown-up, they're cheesy as fuck.
Yeah, but the thing about the Mighty Ducks cartoon, I think we should mention this, that the movies were about, a hockey team, but the cartoon show, it's about anthropomorphic ducks who are also superheroes.
Yep. They come from the planet Buck, by the way.
Yeah, exactly. This is what I'm talking about. Like, they had a villain called Lord Dragonis, and he's voiced by Tim Curry. So...
Okay. I was thinking Jim Cummings, but no. Sure, Jim Cummings is in that show somewhere.
Somewhere. He's one of the droids, so he's probably somewhere in there. This show had Charlie Adler as well, and Tony fucking J. So Frollo from Hunchback of Notre Dame, and Frank Welker, of course. Oh yeah, it had Rob Paulson in it as well. Yeah, and Jim Belushi, like you said. Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. Oh yeah. I mean,
I wonder if it's on Disney Plus, because if it is, this is a show you should actually be checking out and look, and share the pain of how cheesy it is now. But just remember, as a kid, it was awesome. It was awesome.
I love it. It's like the cheese factor. The cheesier the better in my view when it comes to like cartoons, because there's nothing more upsetting when you see like a cartoon and think like, oh, that would be kind of cool, and then you watch it and then it's just kind of boring. So that's like the worst thing. Like this is not a show that I particularly remember very particularly fondly. But have you ever heard of the Fruities?
No, I can't say I have.
Yeah, it was a Spanish cartoon show. I remember watching it in the mid-'90s on Cartoon Network. And it had one of the most awkward English dubs ever. Like, if you look at the Fruities opening theme song, you can tell... And then you watch the original Spanish theme song, you realize that it's just a word-for-word translation, and it doesn't fit at all well. And then it was the kind of show where they just constantly recycled bits and pieces of animation. So basically, they just cannibalized older episodes and made newer episodes out of. Like, you think, people know this about me because I'm a He-Man fan. You think that they reused a lot of animation on the Filmation He-Man show. Like, they have nothing on the Fruities. The Fruities did that to a fucking art. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, did you have another show you wanted to talk about, or do you have something else to say about Mighty
Oh,
Ducks?
I've got a few more.
Yeah, go
I've
ahead.
actually got a few more shows I want to mention.
Yep.
Another one is, just keep in mind, this isn't very good descriptions of the show, because, as I said before, I haven't watched these since I was a kid, so it's a bit musty, but it's true. A lot of people still don't remember these shows. The first one is Street Sharks.
I never watched Street Sharks, but I do remember the Street Shark toys, and my cousin at least had a couple of those. Yep, go ahead.
Yeah, I mainly remember the toys too. I remember liking the cartoon as a kid though, which means I'm not going to like it as a grown-up, but there's actually an awesome DVD box set that's like $10 that contains every single episode, because it was like one of those cheap like throwaway DVD box sets.
Okay.
And another show that no one tends to remember is Biker Mice from Mars.
Ooh, Biker Mice from Mars, yes.
However, I have to admit, I never really watched it. I just watched the intro. I was like, this is cool. Then I changed the channel because Sailor Moon or something like that was on the other channel.
Oh, man. Hey, sorry. Do you mind if I hijack
Oh, absolutely.
Biker Mice from Mars for a bit? I need to tell this.
Cover up.
Yes, I need to tell
Cover up.
So I did watch Biker Mice from Mars. I watched the entirety of the show back in the day when they aired it. And this is weird. Like, Biker Mice from Mars, like we mentioned already, like this show and Street Sharks and probably Mommy's Alive and a bunch of the others that we mentioned already. So there was a whole slew of TMNT knockoffs in the 90s. So, different animation studios trying to come up with another kind of a superhero team, either anthropomorphic animals or just, mummies or whatever. And most of them did not fare so well. But Biker Mice from Mars, I do not know how this happened, but for some reason, for like a good, I would say 2 to 3 years, Biker Mice from Mars here in Finland was just as big, if not bigger, than Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. It was like a legit cultural phenomenon. Everybody fucking knew the show, everybody knew the characters, there was a fucking board game, and the toys, obviously. I had two of the mice. I had Modo and Vinny, and I did not have. This is confusing for me because they changed the name for the Finnish version. He's Throttle in the English version. He's voiced by Rob Paulsen, by the way. But in Finland we called him Turbo for some reason. I guess because Throttle didn't translate very well. And that's the thing. Again, it was dubbed into Finnish, and it wasn't like dubbed like particularly well, but. We just fucking ate it up. We loved Biker Mice from Mars over here, and it was like a cultural phenomenon for like a good solid 2 years, maybe even going on 3, before it then petered out because it wasn't very popular anywhere else. So that's why it died down. But it's amazing. Like none of those, like I said, Street Sharks, probably because the cartoon didn't air over here. They like. Advertised the fuck out of the toys, so everybody knew the Street Shark toys, but we didn't get the cartoon show, so nobody really cared. But Biker Mice, like it penetrated Finland like hard. Like that was a weird little period from my childhood that I remember very vividly.
Nice. Thanks for covering up my incompetence of the show, by the way.
Yes.
And I got 3 more shows to mention that I'll mention quickly.
Just quickly. Do you know who sang the theme song to Biker Mice from Mars?
Ooh, no.
So it was a legit big heavy metal name. Jeff Scott Soto fucking sang the theme song to it.
Ah, nice.
Yeah. And I did a cover of it, of course, which I actually took down a little while ago. I might have to put it up again. I actually am pretty proud of that one.
Okay. Just quickly, because the more we talk about it, the more they just flow in, which is ironic, because these are shows that no one remembers.
Yep.
But then again, people call me a obscure hipster anyway.
Another thing about Biker Mice, they had a second season or a second series of it in the early 2000s, but they completely changed the art style to a much more simplified one, and I didn't like that. But apparently Rob Paulsen won like a fucking Emmy off of that show, so like the newer Biker Mice, so maybe it wasn't that bad. Maybe I was just put off by the art style. But the original show looks beautiful. Like the animation is really good. So it wasn't just...
I remember that intro. That intro was awesome.
Yeah, but that's the thing with
Mars.
some of those shows from that era is that usually the intro's super impressive. Then when you actually see the episode, it usually doesn't look as good. But Biker Mice was one of those rare exceptions where the show's animation was just as good as the intro. There were, of course, there was always going to be a couple of episodes where it's a little doinky, but generally it was very good. Yeah, sorry. Okay.
Now I could more Biker Mice from Mars stuff. I could be remembering this wrong, more than likely. But as a kid, I remember like there being some sort of weird Pizza Hut promotion in Australia. Like it wasn't anything big. I think it was more like you can buy some of the tapes from Pizza Hut.
Well, that's the thing. Okay, we're going down this rabbit hole then. You remember what the Biker Mice loved? What their signature food that they loved was? Or actually,
wasn't it?
It was a signature. Actually, it was a signature drink. They loved
I don't know.
Root beer.
Root beer.
Because they were bikers, but they couldn't have beer because it's a kids' show, so they loved root beer.
Nice.
And that's the other thing with these cartoon teams. Like they always had their like signature foods, and actually it goes beyond like the cartoon themes. Like Sonic. In the game, Sonic never liked chili dogs. That was the thing that they invented for the cartoons, and then it just took off. Turtles loved pizza, and I was about to ask, did the Street Sharks have a signature food that they loved?
I don't remember, but I remember they liked chomping things.
Okay. It's just
I do remember that the one with the
everything is their favorite food.
The one that I remember liking the most of the Street Sharks was like this weird hair metal shark with like this long hair, this guitar, this tongue hanging out that it can turn around.
Yeah, I honestly don't remember it much. I remember there was a blue shark, a brown shark, and maybe a hammerhead shark, and that's about it. But there's like 4 of them in the team, or is it 5?
I'm just hoping I'm not wrong about that Pizza Hut promotion with Biker Mice from Mars, because when videotapes were a thing, there was like some sort of these weird like fast food promotions or videotapes. Like what was it? McDonald's had like an Indiana Jones videotape set. That one I remember quite well. And even in like the early 2000s, there was like these weren't like special like Pizza Hut edition videotapes. It was just like videotapes that Pizza Hut sold. So, sort of like with the kid cookies and whatnot, like stuff for kids when they ordered, pizza and a movie, something like that.
Yeah.
But the most unfortunate Pizza Hut promotion that I remember, one of the tapes that you can buy with like a pizza meal was American Pie 1 and 2.
Okay. Is it that I haven't actually seen... I mean, I know why it's infamous, but I have never actually seen any of the American Pie movies. I do know that somebody sticks a dick in a pie at some point, but yeah.
Yeah, that's the unfortunate part.
That's the unfortunate part, okay.
Wait, I still got 3 more cartoons I need to mention, don't I?
Yeah, we went down the Biker Mice path, so yeah, go ahead.
The first one, another show that I only watched the intro that I changed the channel was Extreme Dinosaurs, because the theme song was so great. The show itself, I don't remember it being good.
Yeah, I've never watched that either. I've just seen the intro in like compilations of like 90s cartoon intros, but yeah, that's a complete dark horse for me too.
Number 2 is the Genie Family. It's like an old anime from like 60s, 70s, 80s maybe.
Yeah, you mentioned that. You mentioned that when we did the Super Frog Let's Play. And you mentioned that it's by Tatsunoko, and you said that one of the characters was in Tatsunoko versus Capcom in the Japanese version, but not in the Western versions. Yeah.
I was going to mention that was the character I was looking forward to the most too. Ah! And the third show is another one that I remember. It's James Bond Jr.
Oh, I remember James Bond Jr. as well. Like that was another. Yeah, I watched a lot of. Okay, it's been a long, long while, so the show may not be as good as I remember it being. But that theme song, God damn it!
Yeah, that's a good theme song.
Yeah,
like I remember changing the channel on some bad guys because I didn't find them interesting, but I loved watching all the Jaws related episodes.
Yeah. I remember the guy I remember most is that chameleon guy whose face like would deform and change. Like that thing, like it horrified me, but also kind of made me think like, wow, that would be such a cool ability to have. Like, just being able to be able to
so
sleep.
Worried.
Yeah.
So worried you was going to say it horrified me, but it also slightly aroused me. I was worried you were going to say something like that.
Yeah. I mean, that is an interesting. That's another interesting one that I remember very vividly. And again, there was like an action figure line about it that I guess never like took off. But yeah, I remember that one. Yeah. Anything else? Those were the shows.
No, those were the shows.
All right. I don't have nearly as many, even though I actually some years ago I made a blog about this topic, but I seem to have like fully removed it. Like I haven't like even privated it, so it's not like it's like hidden, like tucked away anywhere. But it's just gone. And I was thinking of like cheating a little bit and just looking at what did I write in that. And there's really only 2, maybe 3 shows I want to talk about. And first of all, this is a show that has like meme potential, but I don't think a lot of people actually remember as vividly as I do. And that's Captain Planet and the Planeteers.
Oh, nice!
Yeah, that I mean, people remember it as kind of in this kind of an ironic, jokey way a lot of the time that they say, that it's
that show got heavy, man.
It did. But that's the thing, like people just don't remember like any of the fine details of it, and that kind of tells me like I definitely was a bigger fan of that show than a lot of other people. Like for instance, the Captain Planet theme song that everybody always remembers is not the theme song of the cartoon. It plays over the credits. Remember?
Yep.
Captain Planet, he's a hero. Like that song. That's not but that's not the opening. That's the ending. The opening is this, this amazing like orchestral piece, and LeVar Burton like giving the whole spiel about like who the Planeteers are and what everybody's rings does. And that intro is fucking awesome. I will say that's a show where yes, the intro animation is definitely a little better than what the actual episodes were, but it's not like the actual episodes were terrible. And I remember the show.
No, they weren't.
And I remember this episode this show particularly because it had a very, very diverse like villains galore, like Dr. Blight and Hoggish Greedley, and yeah. It's funny you growled as I'm saying Hoggish Greedleys, but that was probably for Dr. Blight. Yeah, Dr. Blight's a fucking hottie. And Verminous Scum. And one character whom I was a bigger fan when I was younger, but now that I look back on the episodes, remember when they made an evil Captain Planet?
Captain Pollution?
Captain Pollution. And because as a kid, I talked about this like evil doppelgangers were something that I was really into as a kid. So I used to think it was such a cool thing that they gave all the villains like corresponding like pollution rings, and that made Captain Pollution. But then when I went back and watched the Captain Pollution episode, like I'm thinking like, hey, this guy kind of sucks, honestly.
Considering how in the first time they fight him, he loses to just being sprayed by water.
I don't remember that part. That's the other thing. A lot of people always say like, Captain Planet, the superhero that you can defeat by throwing a bag of garbage at him. But he did usually have like a little bit more, there was a little bit more to it. It wasn't like that simple. Like usually he got sprayed by like toxic waste or something. So,
Oh, they block out the sun rays, stuff like that.
Yeah. And here's the thing, like I love superhero teams. I generally like shows that have like a team of heroes a lot of the time, like, so like we already mentioned Biker Mice from Mars, but like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, that's a perfect example. Even a show like He-Man and Masters of the Universe, like even though He-Man is very obviously like the main character, like he has a whole troop of heroes that support him. So that's the thing with the Planeteers as well. Like they are I just love that cast of characters, and that's the other thing about the Planeteers as a team. Like that was probably the first time in a cartoon that I remember that there was a team where the leader was clearly, was the black guy. That was Kwame, who had the Earth Ring, and I remember, and that's the thing, like that line whenever they call Captain Planet, like that's been like permanently embedded in my mind. It's when LeVar Burton in his African accent says, "Let our powers combine," like that part, like is like that's when you know.
Speaking of that,
yep.
Yeah. Speaking of that, that's what I liked about the team itself, like how diverse the team was, but it never felt forced in any way. It felt incredibly natural.
Yeah, and that's the thing, like. I will say my favorite character probably when I was a kid was probably Wheeler, just because he had the fire ring, and I thought it would be such cool to basically just have a flamethrower on your finger, basically. But that's the other thing, like, people always shit on that show, saying, like, oh, Wheeler, he was the dumb American of the team, and then, like, well, he didn't understand, the thing about Wheeler is that he didn't always understand why the Planeteers were doing what they were doing, but then at the end of the episode, he would always learn. So it wasn't like he was just a big fucking dumbass. It was just like he didn't understand what was going on. And, you know, he's like the character who always, like, improves the most from episode to episode. So I don't always get, like, people really, like, talk down on that show a lot, you know, because of the environmental themes and everything. Yeah? Sorry.
A really good Wheeler episode that does show all that is like this. I think it's the season 1 finale where it's a time travel episode where he goes back in time and changes stops the younger version of him from becoming a Planeteer, and he learns the consequences of those actions.
Ooh, I don't remember that one. Yeah, it's a bit spotty for me, and I think it's weird because I remember when it aired on Finnish television, I watched a good bunch of the episodes, but I don't remember when Captain Pollution came in. I'm thinking that was more like season 1, 2. That was when it was on the Turner, when it was Turner Productions. But then they later switched over to Hanna-Barbera, and I remember some of the Hanna-Barbera stuff when I later watched that show on Cartoon Network. But that show is a lot, in my view, is a lot cooler and more interesting than a lot of people give it credit for. It does have it, like, there is a bit of a cheese factor to it as well. But it's a well-meaning show. Like it has a good message at heart. So why would you fucking knock it because of that? So that's yeah. Another thing that really pisses me off, because people understand, like, the Planeteer rings, like the first 4 are like the classic elements, so there's earth, fire, wind, water. But then everybody always, like, rags on Mati, who has the heart ring. Like, the old joke is, like, the heart ring does nothing.
Oh no.
I mean, the heart ring fucking gives Mati basically control of all the animals. Like, there's so many episodes where he stops, like, a stampede, or, like, Planeteers are about to be attacked by rats or something, and he just uses it and calms the animals down. He's like, sorry?
It's like calling Aquaman the superhero. It's like calling Aquaman lame because he can talk to fish. He's more than that.
Yeah, exactly. So that's the thing. And I guess, what it's supposed to, like, represent is, like, compassion. So that's where the heart business comes from. Yeah. But anyway, so that's my 2 cents thrown in like that.
We could do a whole bloody episode on Captain Planet.
Yeah. All right, and another show, and actually this is a couple of years ago. I actually started revisiting this show. This one is a weird one because this is a British cartoon. But I want to ask you: do you remember a show called Count Duckula?
Oh yeah. That's one of my favorite shows growing up. he used to air after Pokemon.
Wow!
In the mornings over here.
Wow, that late, huh?
Yeah. This show
was made in the late 80s, by the way, just for context. Yep, go ahead.
I know, but repeats of him was thrown on in the morning after Pokemon.
Yeah. All right. So I wanted to mention Duckula. So Duckula is a very, very curious, interesting little cartoon because technically it's a spin-off of another cartoon. Did you know about this, actually?
Yep, Danger Mouse.
Yeah, there's another British show called the Danger Mouse, and Count Duckula was a character on that, and then they gave him his own cartoon. And this is a show. It's so weird. It's like in like the pantheon of screwy cartoon duck characters. Like, I think Count Duckula has been completely forgotten. And granted, it's a kind of cartoon that I think children won't always necessarily like find as funny, because a lot of the comedy was very heavily dialogue based, like explanations and everything. But it's really funny because he's a vampire who's resurrected, but they make a blunder in the resurrection so that instead of blood, he loves vegetables. So that was the whole.
Yeah, because they dropped in ketchup instead of blood, messed up the ritual.
Yeah, but I love I just love the cast is really funny, and yeah, some of the episodes are going to be a bit slow paced, but it's kind of show that I just love watching. It has a badass like narrator at the start and end of every episode, and also the theme song, especially the ending credits theme song. Like, if nothing else, after this podcast, people need to go check out the fucking Count Duckula ending credits because. Do you remember the end credits? What it was like?
No, because I was on my way to school at that time before it was finished on TV. Unfortunately,
it's great because it's like if you're feeling or you're kinda and then it like cuts to like black and white footage of like horror movies and things. And it's like skeletons. And the ending credits are fucking amazing. But I do like the Count Duckula, the main theme song as well. Which goes like in the Hall of Transylvania, in the Vampire Hall of Fame. Yeah, there's no vampires zanier than Duckula.
Count Duckula.
Yeah, that's a nice screwy show. I can understand why people don't necessarily remember that one because it's a spin-off of a British cartoon show, so it's quite obscure by those measures. And
there is actually a rebooted version of Duckula that happened in the reboot of Danger Mouse, except they made him more like a stereotypical millennial than a screwballish vampire. They made him more annoying than anything.
Ah, okay.
He's into mobile phones. He's into dubstep. You know.
Okay, I haven't seen that one. But yeah, it's quite the obscure one as well because it didn't air on television over here. At least I'm fairly certain it didn't. It was one of those. It belongs into this large plethora of cartoons and anime in Finland that were only ever released on home video. So that's a thing. And here's now this one. I don't know if this is necessarily a fair show to say that nobody remembers this one. This is only on my mind because I got my sister the DVD box set of this for Christmas, so I've been watching it. Have you ever watched? I want to just quickly ask: have you ever watched Jem and the Holograms?
No.
Yeah, this is a show from the 1980s about the daughter of the owner of a record company who dies, and his scummy business partner tries to take over the company. So this girl, whose name is Jerica, yes, Jerica, finds a holographic computer called Synergy that turns her into the pop star Jem, and she has a band called the Holograms. So it's a pop star cartoon show with a character who has like a secret identity, and they also have a rival band called the Misfits, who are these like three antagonistic female musicians. And quite psychotic as well. Like some of the early episodes of the show, like they do so much, like just borderline like attempted murder kind of shit. And this is a children's cartoon, so it's quite interesting. Yeah, the Gem intro. If you go watch that, that's you know, the theme song to this is fucking catchy as all hell, and it has a really awesome opening animation. But yeah, this was one of those girly shows. I remember it from like the from the early 90s because this was also another one that went straight to video in my country. But there is apparently like a very strong like a cult following for this one. So this might not be accurate to talk about. But yeah, I've been watching this show with my sister, and it is hilarious. It's cheesy, it's hilarious. The great thing about, great or infuriating depending on how you look at it, is that every fucking episode has at least 2 music videos in it. And they are presented like music videos. Like they do the MTV thing with the artist and the song name in the bottom corner. So
sounds like the Adventures of Super Mario Bros. 3.
Yeah, except
with the music video.
But they didn't do it. Like this was very intentional. Like this was done in like '86, and I think this was like sponsored by Hasbro. So that leads me to think that there had to be a Gem and a Holograms like toy line as well.
There was.
But this show lasted for 3 seasons, so it was not a tiny. It was a big deal for like a little while. So, and I have to say, like the early episodes, the animation quality is really rough. But then after you get like the first hiccup of the first like the kind of story arc, then it actually starts to pick up. But yeah, that's an interesting thing. And one thing that people probably will know about it is that I think in the last 5 years, I don't remember how long ago this was, they tried to make a live-action movie adaptation of it, which bombed really hard. So
Yep.
they,
Yep.
so yeah, that's it. So that one might not necessarily count, but I've been watching it. And the thing that really cracks me up is that the main villain, or not the main villain, I think the Misfits are really the main villains, but the sleazy business partner, who himself, like, the thing that really cracks me up is that nobody ever goes to jail on this show. Like, they do all kinds of things, like they mess up like a cruise liner. They nearly run off the main characters off the fucking road, and the guy like hires criminals to like blow up a concert hall or something at some point, and he never goes to fucking jail. And yeah, the sleazy producer guy, he's voiced by Charles Adler, who's also like have most of the voices on Cow and Chicken, but he's also the voice of Buster Bunny on Tiny Toons. So he's that guy. So that's kind of interesting. Okay, I think that's the first topic down. I think we'll take a little break. I'll be right back. And welcome back from the break. I think we've now more or less covered the best childhood cartoons that nobody remembers. So let's move on to the next topic, which is the first and our first anime, and why is it, or why are they the best or the worst? And so I have a very convoluted and not very straightforward and very frustrating answer to this one. So, Kaiser, do you want to go first before?
Sure, I'll go with my ultra simplistic one, which is one I have mentioned on the show before, and that is Sailor Moon.
Yeah, that's a nice clean one. How and where did they air Sailor Moon in Australia?
It originally aired over here on a cartoon block called Agro's Cartoon Connection, which is hosted by a puppet. I've shown you clips of him before.
Yeah, I've seen Agro, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There's really
weird
funny outtakes.
wombat.
Yeah, there's these really funny outtakes of it as well. Yeah.
I know a lot of people would say it aired on Cheese TV, which it did, but much later. But I remember it from the glory days of being on Agro. And the reason why I got into it in the first place was because of a show that used to air in the afternoons. It's a pretty unknown show. You probably wouldn't have heard of it. The Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. Yeah. Then I got up early one morning and they were playing this new show called Sailor Moon. And I watched it, it's like, oh, this is just going to be a lame girl show. Because as a kid back in the 90s, you did think that. And then you saw the transformation of like, this is kind of like Power Rangers, but an old girl's version. And the more I watched it, the more I loved it, and probably developed some of my first crushes watching that show.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's a nice.
Although my first television crush was Pamela Anderson in Baywatch. Oh no, the things that I loved about Sailor Moon was mainly the characters and the action. I found it to be a bit deeper and much more violent than Power Rangers. So that's pretty much it. Because if you're going to enjoy a show, it's most likely due to the characters. Like, it's a very simple explanation as to why I like them. The worst of the show, though, oh boy, as good as that show gets, there's some awful, awful stuff that happens in that show. Mainly season 4 of the show. The show that, well, pretty much killed it in English. Because there was a 5th season that never aired in English because of how bad the 4th one. Like, there's this bizarre creepy storyline of Chibi Moon, which is Sailor Moon's pink-haired daughter from the future.
Oh yeah.
Having this weird, feels sort of semi-pedo relationship with like this unicorn boy from the future. And as I
Okay, I've never heard of this part of the show. I know the character you're talking about, but a unicorn boy.
Basically,
okay, yep, go ahead.
Basically, the story and the characters take a big nosedive, which is a shame because this is the seasons with Neptune and Uranus. I'm probably going to Saturn. Was there a Sailor Uranus? I don't remember. But no, because they just introduced some really good characters from season 3, like more Sailor Scouts, which were pretty good, add more layers to the show. But season 4, the story takes a big dive, and so do characters. It just starts to feel incredibly phoned in and creepy at this point. It's just like they lost it. And for whatever reason, every time a bad guy dies in that season, they always have to yell out, "Lovely!"
Okay. So they actually like did kill like the bad guys on that show.
Yeah.
All right. And wasn't there like two of the sailor girls, are a lesbian couple, but in the English version they made them into cousins, which actually sounds even worse.
Yeah. Yeah, don't watch the English dub. That was season 3, I believe. Yeah, don't watch the English dub of season 3, even though there are some decent episodes. And those characters are awesome, by the way, but watch them subtitled. And it's a shame, because season 4 did so badly. Like, I watched it back on Fox Kids back in the day, because it jumped between channels. Like, after season 2, it jumped to, like, a pay TV show for some reason.
Yep.
But, yeah, season 4 did so badly.
It jumped to a pay TV channel for some reason. I guess... I think it's easy to guess what the reason was. Cha-ching!
Oh my!
Yes. All right. Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Season 4 did so bad it quite literally killed the show for English, because there was a season 5, and I've mentioned it before. It never aired in English because of, well, let's just say, I've already said it multiple times because of how terrible season 4 was. I don't need to say it again.
Oh yeah.
And season 5 has some really awesome stuff in it, so and that's finally getting like a proper English release too. So
okay, yeah, that was what I was about to ask. Yeah, that it has actually been released then.
Yeah, part of like the remastered seasons,
Yep.
which have a completely different dub, which is nowhere near as good as that original Deke dub. Because the first few seasons were brought over here by Deke of all companies.
Huh? I didn't know Deke actually did dubs of. So they were like Canadian voice actors then, I assume.
Yeah.
Ah, cool. When you say that, you're actually making me want to check out this show now because I want to hear if I can recognize some of the voice actors.
Oh yeah, go watch it. And it was also like a sort of like a remake show. I think that's lasted longer than the original run, called Sailor Moon Crystal. It's not a bad show, but it does suffer from like a little bit washed down compared to the original, but it's still good. But the thing I don't like about it is how bland the English voice acting is. It's like every character sounds the exact same. It's monotone?
Is that the show? Is that the reboot that came out like just recently, or did it come out like in like in the early 2000s?
No, this was the recent one.
Okay.
Yeah, this is where they look a bit more. Well, the characters look more like they're from the covers of the manga than anything. I mean, as I said, the remake isn't bad. It's just the voice acting is incredibly bland, and I'm probably going to get stabbed for that. But no, compare it to the original show. As bad as what people make it out to be. Actually, I don't even know if people make out the original dub to be bad or whatnot. But there's so much character in that original dub.
Yeah, I can probably guess that the rewriting of the dialogue and the things like rewriting like that lesbian couple to be cousins, like that kind of shit is like, oh boy, that's kind of inexcusable. But yeah, I'm just genuinely curious too, because I'm me, because I'm a big voice acting geek, so that's the reason why this is now suddenly becoming very interesting to me. So, like I said, I have a very long, convoluted explanation for what I think is my favorite anime. I mean, my first anime, but I'm not entirely sure. So, do you want to hear what the anime is first before I launch into the whole long, complicated explanation?
No, make it a surprise.
Make it a surprise, okay. All right, kiddies, gather around. Let me tell you about the time when old Uncle Hanu was still a little kid. So, I'm Finnish. In my formative years, whatever you want to count those as, I guess from years 1 till 6, 7, or 8, somewhere thereabouts.
A single-digit years?
Yes. Those were spent in the the tail end of the 80s and the early 90s. Now, when I was a kid, and in that particular time period, there were only 3 television channels in Finland. So my TV watching experiences were very, very different. Then in the mid-90s, the whole thing kind of exploded, but it was partly because my family had cable. So the thing is but I grew up through that period where there literally were only 3 television channels. Okay? And so there were 2 channels that were owned by the Finnish Broadcasting Company, Yle, and then there was the commercial television channel. And that was literally what it was called, commercial TV, Mainostelevisio, or MTV. Later they started calling themselves MTV3 to set them apart from the other MTV that you're thinking of. And MTV aired all the American cartoons. So anything you could think of, like literally anything under the sun. The Warner Brothers cartoons, they would sometimes do, like, they would like randomly show like a Popeye cartoon if they had absolutely nothing else to air. And, you know, Tiny Toons Adventures, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Biker Mice from Mars was there eventually, and so on and so forth. And YLE showed this weird hodgepodge of different international cartoons, all right? There were shows from different European countries. There was the occasional Soviet cartoon that they would show. That was something that they did. And then, once in a blue moon, they would show, like, some anime, like a Miyazaki movie. And then, the early 90s, there was this really weird period where European production companies hired Japanese animation studios to do animations for them. So there were these weird, almost animes, if you will. Are you seeing now where I'm going with this?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And there were a lot of shows like this. So whatever my first anime, quote in air quotes, was, it was probably on YLE. On the other hand, I've already mentioned that there was this whole fervent home video market that existed, and literally these like small video distributors were snatching up anything that did not get aired on these three channels was basically free game for them. So any Hanna-Barbera cartoon that Channel 3 didn't show, somebody would snag it up, like Top Cat, Huckleberry Hound, Yogi Bear, Flintstones. Like I'm sure Flintstones did get aired, but then, you know, there were like a gazillion spin-offs, so those got like picked up by the video distributors. And Scooby-Doo, like that's another one. And, you know, all the video game cartoons that you're probably thinking of, like Captain N, Super Mario Brothers, that got released on home video. Gem and the Holograms, which I mentioned already previously in the podcast, was a video release. And then a whole bunch of anime got released on home video, including the one that I've talked about many times, and I did a BMW review of, which is Silverfang, Ginga Nagare Boshigin. That one. And that was like a huge thing when I was a kid. Like, everybody knew someone who had the tapes. So, you know, it was something that got around. So it could be that, but I'm not 100% sure, because from context clues, I must have become aware of that show around 1992, and I was definitely watching television a lot before then. So, the first time I became kind of cognizant of what even anime was, it was probably in the mid-90s when we already had the cable channels, so I was getting a kind of these weird channels, like Sci-Fi Channel would show, like, you know, your occasional episode of Tenchi Muyo, for instance. And G-Force, you know that one. Mm. Yeah, that's by Tatsunoko as well, you know, the superhero team with all the bird heads. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then, so that's when I became cognizant of, I think, anime. And then the first show that was an anime I watched intently after that was Pokemon. But I think I watched that more because it was a show based on a video game that I was playing, more so. And the first anime that I watched, because it was an anime and I was curious, was a few years down the line, was Magic Knight Rayearth. But Magic Knight Rayearth, Pokemon, and Ginga Nagare Boshigin are probably all answers that are too late to have been my first anime. So, want to take a fucking guess what my first anime probably was?
Oh, this is going to be interesting. Trying to think what would air in Finland around the early 90s, late 80s. Is that where the time frame is?
Yeah, exactly. That's where the time frame is. And
and
the big thing, so the reason why YLE didn't show any of the American cartoons were because they were commercial cartoons. And probably they thought they were too violent and they taught bad morals or, you know, something like that.
Okay, so I'm going to rule out Astro Boy then.
Yeah, no. So this is the thing. This is annoying because I'm pretty sure I watched this show a lot as a kid. I'm pretty sure it was airing around this time frame. But I'm not
Heidi?
Sure. No, not Heidi. No. I'm pretty sure the answer is Moomins, but I'm not 100% sure. Moomins, yeah. And specifically the
hippo-looking creatures.
Yes, you know, the ones that are based on the children's books by a Finnish author. But here's where it gets really fucked up. The production company that did the show was a Dutch company, and then the animation studio was Japanese. So for all intents and purposes, it was an anime because it was done like almost 90% in Japan. The thing that they then did when it was brought over to Europe is that they swapped out the opening and ending themes with. Do you know how the movement theme goes actually?
No, not at all.
This is a big difference. It goes ba 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 da 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 da. That theme song, and it's in every fucking language under the sun, basically that version. And the Japanese just had a completely different theme. And then obviously then they also did the voiceovers in all the different native languages. So here's the thing about Movements. Movements is a fucking institution in this country. It is like sacred. And this show, the 80s, 90s Movements cartoon specifically, is like the holy grail, or is like a revered show over here. To the point that when recently, and it aired on YLE, so the Finnish Broadcasting Companies, so it's so revered to the point that when YLE actually just a couple of years ago let go of the broadcasting rights to it, they were immediately snagged up by their competitors, the commercial network. Like these days, there are a lot of other, but this is the MTV3 that I mentioned before, and they redubbed it. And everybody got really fucking mad at them because they redubbed it. Like it is such a revered, sacred thing to Finns. And now I think nobody really bothers because they're still airing it, and I think it sounds fine. But obviously, like I have a lot of childhood memories attached to that show. But yeah, so Movements, and that's the thing. Like the Movements show, like I'm pretty sure, like even like Miyazaki even worked on it in bits and pieces because the animation in that is fucking superb. It is beautiful, and it's also the kind of show where a lot of shit happens. I mean, it's held up really, really well. It is, like, artistically speaking, just a really fine program, and they did a lot. They did it for very many years, and it was it was great. There are episode plots that I'm not super into. Usually kind of like more domestic nonsense. And there's this whole episode where Moomin Mother, that's Moomin Troll's mom, grows like a giant pumpkin, and then everybody tries to protect the giant pumpkin, and that kind of goes a little weirdly, but yeah. That is a great fucking show, and especially like the soundtrack to it, the music, because I don't think they changed the music from the Japanese, like the actual in-episode music. It's just the theme songs. But that was like, that's another reason why it's held up so well, and also because the animation quality is just super nice. So, if you want to count Movements as an anime, sure, that's probably my number one. That would probably be my answer. Now, there's another, but this is where it gets really frustrating and annoying, because there probably were other shows like this that had like a European production company behind them, but were animated by a Japanese studio, and there's at least two other shows that could also be the answer. Do you know Alfred J. Quack?
That name rings a bell, but yeah. I don't think I've ever seen it.
Yeah, that's literally the exact same deal. It was a Dutch production company and animated by a Japanese studio, and I know for a fact because his name is in the credits, like Hayao Miyazaki worked on that one, and it's based on actually a Dutch play. But yeah, so that could also be it, because I remember watching that a lot as a kid. And then Around the World with Willy Fogg. Do you remember that one?
No.
It was, it's based on Around the World in 80 Days, but it's a furry
in 80
version.
days.
Yeah. So Phileas Fogg is a lion, but they called him Willy Fogg. That's the thing. I guess they didn't have the rights to it, so they changed all the characters' names. So Phileas Fogg was Willy Fogg, and Passepartout was Rigaudon, and so on and so forth. I don't think they changed the names of the cops that are chasing, or the freaking in the book it's just one cop, but in the series they had like a pair of bumbling cops. But that's the weird thing. I say they changed the names, but then when it aired in Finland, they didn't call it Around the World with Willy Fogg. They called it Around the World in 80 Days, and they gave all the characters their like book names. So that gets it very confusing. And that show was a weird one because it was a Spanish-Japanese co-production, And then they made a bunch of sequel series to it that were based on other Jules Verne novels, like where they go to the center of the earth, and one that has Captain Nemo in it. And those were not done in Japan, I can tell, because the animation quality really dropped on those later seasons. Yeah, but that's another show that I watched a lot as a kid. So sorry, I do not have a great answer for this. I think it is the Moomins. I think it's a fantastic show, wonderful, holds up really well, and I can't really even think of anything super bad to say about it. Like, as a kid, some of the more, like, peril-filled episodes, maybe I got a little bit of anxiety from those, but there aren't like, many bad Moomin episodes either, so, I don't really have a lot of negative things to say about it. Okay. I think we should take another quick break. Welcome back from the break. All right, we are getting ready to close off this White Devil podcast, but we still have one more topic that we were requested, and so we decided we were going to still do this one. And the last topic, today, is my go-to games. So, Kaiser, I've been talking for a while now, so I'll hand the mic over to you again, and tell me about your go-to games.
Well, I got a few of them, actually. I'm starting again. I've got a few of them, actually. Stuff that I've started playing since I was like a teenager, and they never left my side ever since. Like, I started playing these back in the days where I was slowly going insane due to being abused in high school. Not sexually, thank goodness. But still, I was going mad. And one of these games I'm going to talk about, the game is Sonic Adventure.
Oh, Sonic Adventure, okay.
Yes, a game that I heard about going around in the schoolyard, because this was in the because I didn't play it for the Dreamcast for its original release. I heard about it through its GameCube release, which apparently was like super hard to find, and yet that got like a weird Platinum edition, which didn't make sense to me. It's like, I've never seen this game anywhere. How on earth did it get a Platinum edition? But yeah, this was the DX edition of Sonic Adventure. I was in a EB Games at somewhere in Queensland on holiday, and there it was, right there, Sonic Adventure DX. It's like, can I get it? Sure. I was like, yes. And I played it, and first thing I thought was, wow, Sonic in 3D! No, that's a lie, because that was Sonic Adventure 2, a game I played years before. I was more like, Sonic in 3D, this does not look quite as good as Sonic Adventure 2, because it just looked a bit washed down. Sonic had the terrifying teeth.
So you had already played Sonic Adventure 2 before Sonic Adventure 1?
Yes.
Okay.
That was the first GameCube game I played. I believe I borrowed it from a friend's house, and I didn't want to give it back.
You had a GameCube, but you had no games for it.
Yeah, I did have the Game Boy player, though, so I was playing Game Boy games off of it.
Ah, okay. Interesting. Yeah, go on. Go on.
Yeah.
So that was your go-to game?
That's one of them, just mainly because of the, it's not particularly a great Sonic game, but it's not an awful one. It's just a dumb, fun Sonic game that I enjoy playing because of the levels.
Whoa, hey. Not a great Sonic game. That's one of my top 5 favorites. Actually, I have a Sonic game I want to talk about as well, but, I will say, like, Sonic Adventure, yeah, I like Sonic Adventure 2 definitely way more, but yeah, I think Sonic Adventure it's a diamond in the rough, but it is a diamond still, in my view.
Yeah, I like playing through the story mode of that one. It's not too long, it's not too short, it's just right.
That depends which character. Unless you're Amy or Gamma. If you're Big the Cat, it might actually be too long, but we already know about that you actually like playing as Big the Cat.
Yep, I'm one of those. I'm that one person that likes playing as Big the Cat.
Yeah.
No, wait, you can't watch this video anymore, but when we did the Sonic Adventure Let's Play, I did kind of sort of set a new record in Big's campaign.
Yeah, you should. Yeah, I'm sad about that because we had Dorupka on that one, and now it's gone.
Don't worry, it's in my vault. I can upload it at any time. But yeah, well, how do I describe it? It's a tricky game to describe why I like it because it's.
Well, if
cool,
I say some of the things
at night and I'm getting tired, but
if I say some of the things I like about it, you can tell me if you agree. I think the soundtrack is great.
Oh, the soundtrack's fantastic.
Yeah, I think there's lots of gameplay variety, which is one of the reasons I love it.
I like how the levels are interesting enough to where you want to revisit them, to where you do want to explore them a bit more, trying to find all the nitty-gritty hidden little secrets.
Yep. And some of them you are kind of forced to revisit because, especially Tails' levels are basically just the Sonic levels, but like in a race format. And I personally do think that the story in Sonic Adventure is actually, I will say, even though I prefer Sonic Adventure 2, I do think the story in Sonic Adventure 1 is way better and darker and more interesting. And also because, and it has like interesting facets to it, like Gamma. Like Gamma has this whole big kind of side story that, you know, it kind of converges with the main storyline a little bit, but it like stands on its own very well.
Give me the bird.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Do you have something else to say about Sonic Adventure, or do you have another go-to game you want to talk about?
I don't really have anything to say about Sonic Adventure. I believe we've said it quite a bit on these past shows. Yep. And it's getting late, so I'm going to rush through some of these now to avoid sounding even more terrible than what I am. Another one is Rock Band / Guitar Hero.
Okay.
Which is, it's just a satisfying little game, especially when I first started playing. I typically, because when I started around 2006, 2007-ish, I was terrible. Like most people start in a new game. I was playing easy mode, and eventually worked my way up to expert mode, which I still play. But the thing that I liked about Rock Band is just how therapeutic it is. Just playing along to the songs. It was also my introduction to a lot of these heavy metal bands like Judas Priest. Megadeth, it introduced me to Megadeth. I'm not saying Metallica or Iron Maiden because I knew of them beforehand. And of course, when there was this thing called Rock Band Network that happened during Rock Band 2, Rock Band 3, where independent people can make their own charts for their music, and that's how I got to know some of these really underground bands at the time. Like, can you believe there was a time when Five Finger Death Punch was an underground band, and now they're all over the place.
I've never heard of them. Sorry.
It also introduced me to bands such as Rush. Other bands, there's too many to mention. But no, it's just, I like music, I like games. They combined the two to make the awesome peanut butter jelly sandwich that it was. And two other games I've got, which these two can sort of be lumped together into, one, because they're both fighting games. Actually, they can just lump it into one name. Street Fighter series.
Okay.
And, of course, the other related games. Just quite frankly, it's satisfying to beat things up.
All right.
And with the control scheme and levels and characters in Street Fighter 2, it's very, very satisfying, especially when you get to the car minigame.
Car minigame. Oh, yeah.
I don't need to explain more about it, but that's it.
So the Street Fighter series as a whole, or are there specific games you want to mention?
Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo, Street Fighter 3 Third Strike, and this one really isn't part of Street Fighter. It's a collaboration between Capcom and SNK called Capcom vs. SNK 2, but I still remember as a kid seeing Street Fighter 2 for the first time because my dad was playing in an arcade, and I looked at the screen, looked at the attract mode, because as a kid, the attract modes were very exciting. You're just drooling over these games, especially since you didn't have a coin to play them. You had nothing much to do at the arcade. If you had no money, just had all these screens of playing. Like, I wish I could play that. But one of the things that I saw in Street Fighter 2 that got me hooked in an instant was Dowsum stage. I saw the elements like, whoa, look at the elephants! And it was love at first sight.
Yeah. Yeah, I gotta be honest, Street Fighter is a series that I've maybe fallen out of love with a little bit, but I will say 2 and 3 I do enjoy a lot, and for me the version of 2 that I always because that's the first one I owned that I always love is Street Fighter 2 Turbo.
Yep.
And I will say, Street Fighter 1 is a guilty pleasure. I do enjoy playing it from time to time.
It's a guilty pleasure, but damn, is it rough.
And I've actually gotten pretty good at doing the Hadokens in it, so that's another thing. It makes the game a whole lot easier if you learn to do that.
It does, especially if you know the Shuriken, you can just pretty much spam that and just beat the game in like 10 minutes. I mean, that's overpowered. But no, if I ever go to an arcade that actually has the original machine, the one where you have to punch the buttons or smash down on them with your fist, I would actually no, I don't want to give it a go because that sounds like one false swipe and I'll shatter my hand.
Oh boy.
And I'll end up being Dr. Claw from Inspector Gadget.
Just really quickly get over mine as well because I actually kind of struggled with this topic because because I immediately started to overthink this question a little bit, and I'm starting to go like by every system that I have over time, and I realized a lot of those answers would not be too interesting. Okay, I will say though, one game, and I have mentioned this before. I don't remember if it was on a Let's Play or if it was on a podcast, but one of my absolute, and I already foreshadowed it, one of my absolute go-to games, when I just want to have a good time and just, let loose, let her rip, is Sonic the Hedgehog. Either number 1 or number 2. So they always, it's an instant good mood for me when I when I start playing Sonic. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Good choices.
Yeah, and also, I've in the past, I've been a little snooty about this, because I, of course, prefer the PAL version of the original Sonic the Hedgehog, the slow version.
Ooh, controversial.
Controversial, but that's the version I grew up with, so that's why it's my favorite version. But I have the Sega Mega Drive Classics Collection on Xbox One, so if I want to, and I'm usually, watching either Crunchyroll or YouTube on Xbox One anyway, and if I suddenly get the urge to play something, it's right there, it's waiting for me, but it's the NTSC version, and for a while I was like, I don't want to play this, it feels wrong, but I've kind of gotten over it a little bit. I've gotten over, okay, playing it on the NTSC speed is okay, it's fine. So, and another game, it's so funny, because I did a short little 2-episode LP of Toe Jam and Earl. Do you remember that?
Yep.
Yeah, because it was also on the Sega Mega
I don't think you got very far in that game, didn't you?
What?
I don't think you got very far in that game, didn't you?
I finished it in 2 parts.
Damn.
Yeah. I mean, I did cheat. I lost my last life on a level 20 or something, and I decided I'm so close to beating this game, I just started using the rewind option and stopped myself from dying. But anyway, it was funny because just recently I started rewatching that video of me playing Toe Jam and Earl, and then I thought, damn, I gotta play some Toe Jam and Earl. And so I've been playing Toe Jam and Earl, and that's a great game. Sonic is great if you want to play a fast game and you want to have a good time. Toe Jam and Earl is a great game if you just want to chill and have a good time. So those have kind of sneakily have become 2 of my favorite Mega Drive games. Well, okay, Sonic has always been one of my favorite Mega Drive games, but Toe Jam and Earl also just recently has reached that level. Then for PCs, there's one type of game specifically that I love, and you can probably name it immediately.
Oh yeah, the porn games.
Hey, we're keeping that off the podcast. No. What the real correct answer is?
Oh, you waiting for me to answer?
Yeah. I'm throwing the ball to you.
Ah, crap! I don't remember what it was.
Are you serious?
Leisure Suit Larry, wasn't it?
Well, you're in the right neighborhood now. So yeah, adventure games.
Oh, Monkey Island.
Oh yeah, but really, oh okay, really it's any adventure games, point and click adventure games. That's my go-to genre on home computers. And like I said, I'm working on a new adventure games puzzles video right now. And it's funny you mentioned Secret of Monkey Island, because Secret of Monkey Island is getting featured again. So yeah, Secret of Monkey Island, definitely. Curse of Monkey Island, of course, is my favorite game in the series. Grim Fandango is another one I love.
Oh, Grim Fandango is a great one. I'm currently playing for that on my Twitch channel.
Yeah, shameless plug. And also, but yeah, the game I used to play just habitually over and over again. And we actually have a Let's Play of it on my YouTube channel. Which is Gabriel Knight 3. So
oh, that's a great one.
That is a great game, and that is so. But yeah, it's literally any adventure game. You tell me to play it. We've had long time ago. We had a whole old White Devil podcast where we talked about the Sierra and LucasArts adventure game rivalry a little bit. I am definitely more in the LucasArts camp. But, I'll still enjoy a Sierra game once in a while. Well, Gabriel Knight is a Sierra game, and Lisa Suit Larry is a Sierra game. But I've only ever completed one King's Quest game in my life. So that's the thing. All right.
You never played any of the Freddy Fish games?
No, the Freddy Fish games, and really none of the Humongous Entertainment games were released over here in Finland, so that's not something that I'm at all really familiar with, except, of course, that Ron Gilbert, the creator of Monkey Island, worked on those games as well. So yeah, no, none of those kids' adventure games. Like, we played the real shit. That sounds really condescending, but I'm serious. Like, the first few adventure games that I ever played, well, we did Alien Incident actually on my channel as well. That was the very
Another
first
great one.
Yeah, that was the very first one. But like all the first ones, because I got into adventure games a little late. So, Alien Incident came out in '96. So the ones that I got into were like, Broken Sword, The Curse of Monkey Island, Grim Fandango, and...
Oh, Normality is another great one, too. I just recently beaten that one.
Yeah, and I have a horrible Let's Play of that on my second channel, if you want to check it out. Yes, but yeah, that was that. But wrapping up that adventure game spiel there, another game that I always enjoy playing is, and this is regardless of the system. Like, this is something that I realized. This was when I had a light bulb moment with this one. Is Mega Man. Any Mega Man game on any system, I always love. So and it's like most recently it was because I'm still playing these the Mega Man X Legacy collections. So that's a series I love. I love the classic Mega Mans, obviously. I even have. I even have, a repro cart of the Wily Wars for Mega Drive, and I actually do pop it in every once in a while because I just enjoy playing it so much. And I've even beaten Mega Man Legends, so I love that. There is a lot in the Mega Man series that I still haven't played, I will admit. But, that's always something. That's that series I always enjoy coming back to. And then the final one. Okay, this is a weird one. Because people would probably not suspect this of me if it were not for the fact that I've done a few Let's Plays in this category. Sports. I'm not a big sports fan at all. And the only sport that I really ever talk about is Formula Ones, but I actually don't like Formula One video games at all. But you know what sport games do I like? Is that correct? Golf. Yes, I do have an old Mario Golf video. It was terrible. Don't watch it. No, it's soccer. Soccer videos. Oh. Yeah, every fucking system that I have, I almost inevitably end up getting a soccer game for it at some point. On the NES, it's the Nintendo World Cup. I have the Mega Games 1 cartridge for the Mega Drive that has, I think it's like Italia World Cup 90 or something like that. Italia spelled like that, not Italy, but Italia, because it was like an official license game, I guess.
Yeah, it was a World Cup game, I believe.
Yeah, exactly. International Superstar Soccer 64 for the Nintendo 64.
Nice.
Yes, and a little while ago I tried out this Sensible World of Soccer, which was for computers in the early 90s, and it was awful, in my opinion. Then I tried the Sensible Soccer 2006 version, and it was slightly better. Like last year, I even got a soccer game for the freaking CDI. It was called CDI Soccer, and was surprisingly actually pretty good. So I really enjoyed it. The only bad thing about that is, though, it only has one single-player game mode. Like, all the other game modes are for multiplayer, which was like, oh shit, because I don't have a second controller. That was weird, but yeah, it's weird because what makes it extra weird is that I don't watch soccer or football. I used to namby-pamby with that. I actually like the word soccer better, so I've started using it now. But yeah, soccer video games. There's something about that sport that makes it very, very. That I just enjoy it. I just enjoy it in video game form. Oh yes, an Actuous Soccer, which is actually by Gremlin, who made Normality as well. So yeah.
Yeah, there's something oddly therapeutic and relaxing about playing soccer games compared to watching it on television or God forbid, watching it live.
I've tried watching soccer, on TV. It is fucking boring. So that's funny. I have an Actua Soccer. I have the Actua Soccer Club edition for the PlayStation 1 as well. It's basically it's just basically the original Actua Soccer, but they got the license for Premier League or whatever it is, the one that they play over in the UK.
Soccer game I recommend is for the GameCube, actually. It's Virtua Striker 3.
Virtua Striker.
So
it's by Sega.
Yep.
Yeah, okay.
Yep.
Because that's that I wasn't gonna bring it up, but that's where the name Actua comes from, because Sega had Virtua Soccer or Virtua Striker, and Gremlin saw themselves competing with them, so they decided to call we're not Virtua, we're Actua, like actual sports.
Actual.
That is such a weird link in the
Cringe.
history of video games because it wasn't just soccer, they also had hockey and golf and everything.
They were everywhere at the time. Then they just suddenly vanished.
They suddenly vanished, yeah. They got bought out by Infogrames, and then Infogrames went out of business. Yeah, exactly. Oh, yeah. All right, but I guess we finally answered that final topic,
Yep.
and I think we're both ready to end this podcast. Do you have any last words you want to say here? Last words makes it sound like you're about to die. Sorry. Do you have any final words? No, that's not good either. Do you have a good close for our podcast, Kaiser?
How many final thoughts, like Jerry
Final thoughts.
Springer
That's
segment?
what I was looking for. Thank you. Yeah.
Oh, I may be ashamed of some of my commentary tonight, but I'm not sorry for it. I said some good things. I've said, a lot of terrible things, but it's good to be back on the White Devil podcast.
Oh, yeah. All right. And I should probably say that when I'm posting this on YouTube, feel free to leave us questions in the comments if you happen to be listening on YouTube. And hopefully we will actually have questions next time when we do this, whenever that will be.
Yep, in 2 years' time.
In 2 years. Oh, boy. But yes, that has been it for this time. I'm Hannu the Hande Mäkinen. See you on the next one. Bye-bye.